Here I am. I thought we were getting here a half hour early to set up. We did bring some water. There's some cheese and crackers in the back and some chocolate. So please, please, please grab yourself some chocolate. I am so sorry. So my name is Faith Moore. I am the Senior Vice President of Housing Programs and Solutions at REPCO. Thank you all for taking the time out of your schedule, and I am so sorry that it's not like I was very respectful of your time because we came in late, but I promise you that we may not have been good with calendars tonight or flyers, but we are really good at this program. So I think Erin's coming around and handing out copies of the application for everybody right now, as well as a really pretty colorful sheet about what to follow and about who can apply and who cannot apply for this program. And to get a feeling for who's in the room, does anybody know what an accessory dwelling unit is, and have you been in one before? Oh, great, wonderful. That's great. Can you share some experiences about, do you rent it to the community, or do you have a family member living in it?
We live in it, and we were renting it out to actually somebody that worked at West Point.
Oh, great, wonderful. And you know what an accessory dwelling unit is?
Yes, kind of a mother-daughter,
Yeah,
separate units for family members.
great. I want to take also a second to and introduce my staff that is back there feverishly setting up our refreshments. I have Steve and Kaya with me. And I also would like to introduce and recognize both Josh and Nicole for being here, who was graciously hosting until we got here. Would you like to say a few words, Josh?
Sure. So actually, we already went around the room a little bit, but I mean, so Josh Wojciechowski, Town Supervisor, Town of Cornwall. Very excited that we're basically hosting the first outreach event for this side of Orange County. Since 1987, we've allowed accessory dwelling units in the town of Cornwall. And this is a great program because it's going to allow people to rehab or build new code compliant units. And, I think, I've said this before, to me, this is like the lowest hanging fruit of adding housing and allowing seniors to age in place and a whole host of good benefits for the community. And I'm really excited that you all came out tonight. It's a pretty good turnout.
Yeah, very good turnout. Thank you so much, and thank you for hosting us.
Sure.
Nicole, would you like to say anything?
Sure, I think I've already talked to everyone. I'm Nicole Anderson. I'm Director of Community Development for Orange County. County Executive Steve Newhouse is very happy to support this program and work with REPCO, and as well as the Orange County Office of Community Development. And Erin Cousins back there walking around with all the paperwork is actually our Deputy Director as well.
Great. Thank you. Thank you. And thank you for hosting us. Thank you. I'm really excited. Like, not only is this the first event, the first outreach event, this is the first time that we're able to bring a program like this into Orange County. I share all the time, right now I oversee $33 million worth of housing programs across the Hudson Valley. Anything from first-time homeownership to foreclosure intervention to rehab programs to help people rehab their homes, and of course the accessory dwelling unit program. We do administer this program right now for round 2 in 3 counties, so Orange, Ulster, and Columbia. Ulster County was selected for the pilot program. We learned a lot of things in that pilot program. Apparently not how to put the right times on a flyer, but we learned a lot of other things that would make round 2 a little bit better. Columbia County launched their application period 2 weeks ago, and we're very happy that today this application period is launching with this event. Applications are open as of today. We're going to talk a little bit more about that. But I come from a long line of housing professionals that work in the nonprofit world. My mother started Orange County Rural Development, which is the rural preservation organization here in Orange County. She started it 40 years ago, and I very vividly remember 16 years ago standing in the town of Montgomery back room listening to her do a presentation to the town board about how important accessory dwelling units, they were calling them granny flats back then, but how important they are to be able to offer an affordable solution for people to either age in place or to create an affordable unit. And for the most part, 16 years ago, people pretty much laughed at her, and they were like, yeah, no way, they're never gonna pass that zoning. But here I am, 16 years later, and between the 3 counties, we are building and creating 106 accessory dwelling units. And 24 of them are right here in Orange County. So not only are we happy that, like, but this is like the first of its kind here in Orange County to be able to do that. Nicole and Aaron and my CEO, Kevin O'Connor, had a meeting 6 days before the grant was due. And we were trying to strategize about how potentially we can start getting things together for round 3. And we didn't want to wait for round 3 because I was like, let's see what we can do. Let's get an application in, see if we can get it in, and here we are. So first and foremost, the most important thing with this program is that you have to live in one of the municipalities that have agreed to participate in the program and already have laws, zoning laws available for accessory dwelling units. Town of Cornwall was the first to come in. Josh also right away, as soon as we had that lunch, was messaging me, hey, how can we bring this program here? So Town of Cornwall, Town of Wabianda, and Town of Montgomery, which is very ironic about that story that I tell, that they ended up passing, are the only 3 municipalities right now where you could apply. If you know anybody, if you have friends, a lot of our programs are word of mouth, but if you know anybody that lives in a different municipality that they do want to participate or they want to build, have them reach out to me. I can talk to them about what they need to do to be able to sign on. I do know for a 100% fact there will be a round 3. I don't know when that is application for us to apply for that funding is going to come out, but there will be a round 3. And we are really hoping to make such great strides in this whole pilot program that there will be another $85 million put into the budget to be able to continue on with this.
How would we get in contact with you? Because I'm not in one of those 3. I'm not in the town of Cornwall, Wabianda, or Montgomery.
Okay.
I'm in Orange County, but I'm in the city of Newburgh.
Okay,
So-
great. So what I would do, so I have my information right here on the first page. When it gets down to eligible homes, must be, the very first one, it says located in an approved locality. And then I would have you reach out to me directly, and you're gonna let me know City of Newburgh, and we're gonna reach out to the city.
Which one? Oh, you're on the actual application?
Yep, on the very first page of the application.
Okay.
And it says, have them reach out to me. My email address is on there. I'm Faith Moore.
Okay.
And City of Newburgh, I do have some contacts there that we're already talking to, so I can reach out to them for you.
Okay.
We are doing a program in the City of Newburgh right now called the THIP program. It's a Targeted Home Improvement Program, which will offer up to $40,000 repairs of your home. Anything that can be classified as a critical repair. Won't help you build a unit, for this A.D.U, but Kaya, I'll make sure that Kaya gives you her information. Okay. Kaya runs up that program for me, so I'll make sure that you guys connect at the end of this. So for this round, you would not be able to apply, because to get them on board for this round would not happen. But that's why I want that connection to happen, so we can make sure that the City of Newburgh is on board for the next round.
Okay, so we really shouldn't be here now.
You can totally be here. Yes, no,
But-
because the more information you know, the more you can share, and the more we can make sure that we get things on board for the next time. And if anything, even if you might not be able to build an accessory dwelling unit, you can certainly get Kaya's information, and we might be able to help you do repairs on your home. Yeah.
Thank you.
So,
Thank you.
yeah, of course. So first and foremost, live in an eligible area where you're able to build. Second is this program is an income eligible program. So the homeowner needs to be making 100% of AMI or below. So also on the very first page of this application, we put the income limits there. They are also on this really pretty colorful sheet. So, but the income limits are there, they are separated by household size, and when we say we calculate the number of people that you have in your home based on what you can make, if there is anybody in your home that is a full-time student, their income does not count. But everybody else that is in your home that lives there full-time, if they make income, their income would have to count towards this total. Yes, ma'am?
So when you say income, is that including tax-free income? Because like I'm a vet, so you know I get tax-free income. And then also is that like you want a W-2 from last year, or you want like your proof of income now? Because I have a new salary this year versus my last salary that may have fitted.
Yeah, so those are all really great questions. So non-taxable income does not count. It would be just like what you would do to do a loan or a mortgage, right? You can count it if you want to. You don't have to count it. Child support, alimony, veteran non-taxable income, foster care income. We're waiting to get the absolute answer on that. But the same thing is if you, we have somebody who fosters a few children and that income does not necessarily count. But then to answer your question about income now, we go off of your pay stubs now. We do take into account when you started the job, but based on pay stubs now, we calculate how much you make now based on how many paychecks you get to determine what you're gonna make to help calculate that go through. So any other questions about income?
Is there a minimum requirement?
No, no minimum at all. No minimum at all. But where there is a minimum, and I want to be very clear about this, and not that it's a minimum that you can apply, but when you're starting to look at what it is that you want to do, this program is so wonderful that you could do a freestanding, standalone unit in your property. You can convert a basement into an apartment. You can convert an attic into an apartment if your municipality allows that. Some municipalities, you know, will allow an attic conversion, but you have to do a sprinkler system. So, you know, there's going to be a lot of communication with your municipality and your building departments. Or it could be conversion of a garage that's already existing, conversion of a barn that's already existing, put in an apartment above. It could be any of the above. But what we are seeing with this program, so a $125,000 grant is the max. But there is a 10% admin and program fee that comes along with that. That is how the nonprofit makes our money to be able to administer this program. So the direct assistance that comes into the program is $112,500. What we are seeing through the pilot program to build an accessory dwelling unit is anywhere between $148,000 to $200,000, depending on what it is that you want to do, the work that you want to put into it, you know, how you're going about doing it, and that's turnkey. And you can potentially get a panelized unit, a freestanding unit. The price is cheaper on delivery, but then when you start doing the hookups and your electrical connections and all of the finishing and all that, the cheapest one we've seen so far has been $148,000. So there has to be income, or there has to be owner contribution to come up with that difference. So if you think about it, like if you know, like here $150,000, then we're going to be able to give you the grant of $112,000. The difference has to come from you. So no, there is no minimum. At the end of the day, as long as you are up to date on your mortgage and you're up to date on your taxes and you're not in fear of going into foreclosure, it doesn't matter to me whether you have a minimum or not. No minimums on there. Also has to be your primary residence. And there cannot be any other rental units on the property. So that was another thing, a lesson that we learned from round one. We have to make sure that there are no other rental units on the property and that you live in the property. Income eligibility. We do ask that, so in the scoring criteria when we, yes?
Hey, sorry,
That's
about
okay.
the income, I spoke with Sandy earlier and she said 2 families were approved on the state level.
In round one, they were allowing them, but there cannot be any other rentals on the property for round two. Are that, what's the property size that you, like, what do you have? You have a two-family now?
I have a two-family, yeah, it's grandfathered in, so what I was really looking to do, and the town's already did it, cause I have less than 4 acres.
Uh-huh.
But because the house is 200 years old, so the second family was grandfathered in. So what I'm really looking to do is to build an ADU above the carriage house and transfer the second family class over to that.
Do you live on the property?
I do.
Make sure that I have your information.
Okay.
Let me, I have a meeting, we have a meeting with the state tomorrow and our state rep, right?
Okay.
And I don't like to sit here and say, no, that's not gonna work, right? But we had, so, and especially if your municipality has already approved it and said that it's okay.
I'm not on paper, but yes, I just got my CO in April, and I told him what the next phase was, and he's like, yeah, we would pass that.
So I don't wanna tell you not to apply, right?
Okay.
So I want to, let's continue on this conversation. They were very strict to say that there can be no other rental. Do you rent the other one out?
I'm doing short term right now.
Okay, so I don't wanna say no, do not apply. So, let me talk to the state tomorrow and get you a better answer on that.
Okay.
So Kaya is really good at keeping notes for me, about the questions that I have to make sure that I ask. So Kaya, the question is for round 2. He has a 2-family property now, wants to build the ADU and convert a carriage house, and, is that allowed? The municipality has already, pretty much said it could be allowed, and wants to just make sure that since they said no other rental units on the property, he's currently renting the other one as a short term. So, but that's one other thing too with the ADU, these are strictly for long-term rentals. They cannot be, the ADU cannot be a short term. So if your other unit is a short term, that's fine, but the ADU, the unit that your assistants would be going into, has to be long term.
Personally, I would be looking to move into it myself.
Perfect, great. I know, listen, I've seen so many of these right now being built in their design, I'm like, I wanna build one so that I can live in the ADU. So you must have homeowner's insurance and be up to date on your homeowner's insurance. Willingness, as I've already mentioned, willingness to explore other funding and or have access to the gap funding to be able to build the unit. The owners must be U.S. citizens or have a legal resident status. Or we already talked about your approved location. You must not have any current code violations. Now, that does not mean you can't, if you had one in the past and you fixed it, I don't care about that. But just no current code violations. Property must be big enough to meet the building and the setback requirements for ADUs. Currently, right now, the home cannot be a mobile home. But there's also even a workaround about that, is that what they mean by that, what them saying not a mobile home, meaning on property, so if it is on a permanent foundation and you own the property in the home and this ADU is gonna be something that you wanna do as a standalone, they will still consider that. So they put this in there as not a mobile home, meaning in a park where you don't own the land, and you're leasing the land. The property must not have other residential buildings or commercial businesses operating on the property. But again, I'm gonna get clarification on that for you tomorrow. Not located in a flood zone or in a flood path. Now, we know that even when you're not in a flood path these days, that you never know what's gonna happen, right? So it's based on the maps and what is necessarily there for right now. Application deadline. So I gave everybody a paper copy today. You can fill out this paper copy. That's great. Or you can on our website at repco.org, and then you go to the +1 ADU page, and then you choose Orange County. The application is on there in a fillable form in both English and in Spanish. If anybody needs any other accessible applications, please just send Sandy or myself an email. We will make sure that we get them out to you. Application deadline. So applications open today. The drop dead deadline for an application is November 18th. But I want to say that it needs to be very clear that there is a priority application window, which ends October 14th, which basically means if you have a shovel-ready project, applications submitted on or before October 15th and are shovel-ready projects. And what that means is that you have already submitted a permit to the town to be approved, and or you are ready to be getting ready to submit that, or you've gone through your planning and your building process and you have turnkey estimates. So if you're like, so that's what we mean by shovel ready, like you're ready to really be taking that next step to say, yep, I'm ready to go, I have this project, I already have the design, I'm just gonna use your carriage house as an example. You know, I wanna convert my carriage house, I've spoken to contractors, this is what I know, this is what it's gonna cost me to finish the job. I already know that in order for me to put a third unit on my property, I have to increase my septic and well. Or, you know, like you know all of that and you're ready to go. If you get your application in, those applications will be prioritized so that we can start getting them going. All other applications, when you're still in the development phase, does not mean you would not get chosen. Anything like that, it's just then you have until November 18th to get in the applications. But from time of being awarded and signing your funding agreement, which then says, yep, we are prepared to give you this grant, that you have to be ready to be shovel ready, with meaning getting ready to go in within 60 days of your funding award.
And then what's the window of time you have to
It's a-
complete the project?
It's a 2-year program.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So, you have about 18 months to complete, you know, from time of funding award. We just, you know, here's the thing too, and A.D.Us, because as we know, their zonings are now just starting to change and they're starting to allow them. Municipalities are being very cautious to make sure that they want to dot their I's and cross their T's, make sure that they're doing everything the proper way, and because they're also setting a precedent for other municipalities of how things go. So we've seen some of these processes take a little bit of time once they actually go in and apply. So we want to make sure that we have enough time to get everything built.
And when do they award, like for the final deadline?
Yeah.
When would an award happen?
Pretty quick. And that's why we set this for November 18th to be the deadline. I'm going to talk a little bit about the scoring criteria in a minute at the end. But pretty quickly, we already have a committee in place so that the committee will then start scoring applications as they come in, so that after the deadline, then they can say, okay, here's the scores, so that then we can go ahead and say, here we go, so that by the end of the year, my plan is by the end of the year to have everybody that's been awarded in a funding agreement. So on the backside of the first page of the application, it explains the deadline. It also explains how to submit the application. You can do so by mail, you can do so by email, you can fax, you can hand deliver. Sandy sits in our Kingston office, but Kaya and Steve sit in our Walden office. So if you want to hand deliver it and you don't want to drive to Kingston, you can certainly drive to Walden. I am all over the place. Sometimes I sit in Kingston, sometimes I'm in Walden, sometimes I'm even in our Monticello office. There's even some days you can find me in our Newburgh office. But, you know, if there's a situation where even if you need to get it and you don't have access to email or to fax and you can't drive it to one of our office locations, Kaya and Steve are usually all over the county doing inspections. Just let us know. Kaya will coordinate to make sure that we get it picked up from you. The only thing I am going to ask is be very conscientious. You'll see down here in the documents needed. If you are emailing it, we need to actually ask you for copies of tax returns and we need to ask for copies of bank statements. Anything that has personally identifying information on it, and if you are emailing it, unless you have access to encrypt the email, please make sure you black out social security numbers and account numbers. I can't control, because I can't control the security of what you're sending to me. I can only control security of what I'm sending to you, so I just want you to be very conscientious of that. There's way too many scams, way too many things that are happening out there lately, so if you're gonna email it, please just black out. I don't need your social security number and I don't need your bank account number. I just need to look at your balances.
Okay, quick question about balances. Can you have too much, like, is there a minimum you need to have, or is there a maximum you can have? Like, say, I got $132,000 in my bank account. Would that disqualify me from the
No,
program?
it won't disqualify you from the program, and it actually helps us see that it's your gap financing. So it does not disqualify you for that. And then that's what you're gonna say to me, like, see, look, this is where I'm gonna get the extra $30,000 from the program because you have it in there. So it does not disqualify you.
Same thing with IRAs,
Yep.
401ks, none of that.
Yep, same, 100%. And tax returns. So yes, we look at your last year's tax returns and your W-2s, but your income is really most based on what you are making today, but we look at the past record to help with that. So that's why I want you to cross out social security numbers on that if you're sending them through emails. Copy of deed, if you don't have your copy of your deed, it's okay, just write on there that you don't have a copy of it. We can access that through the online system. But proof of homeowner's insurance, your last mortgage statement, that's used to make sure that you're not in pre-foreclosure or that you're not in foreclosure. You know, we are tasked with these programs. Orange County is a $4 million program. We are tasked to be good stewards of the money that New York State is giving to us. So we have to make sure that we're not putting this money into a property that is then gonna be foreclosed on in a month. However, if anybody or you know anybody that is facing foreclosure, still have them call our office because we do have a very robust foreclosure prevention program. We have been running that program since 2009 and we do that for Orange, Ulster, and Sullivan counties. Kaya can get you in touch with Andrew and Chris and they will be able to assist with that. So the very items number 13, 14, and 15 on this are items that are needed if you are looking to apply for the priority funding. So plot plans, architects, engineers, any estimates that you have obtained. So if you're looking to go with that, that's where their items are. The next couple pages are very standard applications information. Name, address, number of people in your household, you certify that the information is that, smart. Sorry, not smart. We're all smart, right? We can all certify that we're smart. You certify that the information is correct to the best of your ability. And then the others are authorizations for release of information. And what that is I don't call the state and say, Nicole Anderson applied for this program and here, but we do say that we share demographic information. We share that this many people applied that are in this income range. And also if there are situations where in the foreclosure prevention program, this happens all the time, where we need to share your information with a bank to be able to get you a modification. So in this case, it would be a situation where we could maybe be sharing information back and forth with your contractor to make sure that we're getting you the right materials or different stuff like that. Your disclosure statement, this is a HUD thing. We have to have a disclosure statement and share that, and you have to sign off that you received that in all of our programs so that you understand what fees we charge. We don't charge you anything. As I mentioned, the fees that we get come out of the grant max, so you would never have to pay us for anything. And then pages 8 through 12 talk about, okay, so now you've been approved and you've been selected, what happens next? So there is a lot of information in there. I recommend that you read through it. Any questions that you may have when that comes up, call Sandy. Sandy is a wealth of information. She has been with REPCO for 20 years, just celebrated her 20th year with us. She is my director of the Homeownership Center. She has spearheaded running this program for us as well. And we have newly coming onto staff very shortly, somebody that is going to be a home improvement manager who is going to handle the construction side of things. And we are also looking, hopefully, to be putting out an RFP, which is a request for proposals that should be going out sometime in the next 2 weeks. Looking for an architect/engineer to sign on to round 2 with us. That will be coming out, to be able to just focus on making things go a little bit smoother and a little bit faster, so just so you can have an idea of what the team is going to look like. There is an application supplemental scoring process, which is down here on the bottom of page 8. So we would ask that you write a narrative, 500 words, that would describe the description of your project and how that is going to look. That is going to be 5 to 10, so the project narrative is 10 to 20 points, and then the description of the project is 5 to 10 points, and the specific need of the project, basically that meaning that without this grant, this project would not be able to happen. So let's just say there's a $50,000 gap, but you have $50,000, but without this $112,000, you wouldn't be able to build this unit. And what you're looking to do with it, and how you're looking for that project to go. Make sure, and any projects that are eligible for a real estate tax exemption, and the link is right on here to find out if you're eligible, that would give you 10 points. And then there is another 20 points available, even though it is not a requirement that you rent to somebody that is making 80% of AMI or below. And I know I just used an acronym. Does anybody know what AMI is? Well, of course you do. AMI is Area Median Income. So it's HUD sets the limits every year based on how much people make and then determine the 80% of that. We do have a list here right now adjusted by household size of what 80% of AMI is. So if it's two people, would be max income that they can make would be $73,500. If you're willing to rent to somebody at that 80% AMI or below level, it would give you an additional 20 points. What that would look like is if you're getting these 20 points and you want to rent to somebody that's making 80% of AMI or below. Landlords, New York State laws really make it hard for a landlord to ask for somebody's pay stubs. This is where we would continuously come in. Anytime you put somebody new into that unit, we would send you an updated for that year, that current income limit, tenant attestation, that as they move in, they're signing off on this form by looking at this chart and saying that they make under this amount. They sign it and they notarize it, and we keep it in your file. With this grant, there is a property maintenance declaration that would get leaned onto your property for a 10-year period of time. That says that you are going to live in that property, that you're going to keep it as your primary resident, not the A.D.U. per se, but the property, and that you are going to keep that unit as a long-term rental and not as a short-term rental, and that stays on your property for 10 years. So there would be and also with that, you would not be allowed to charge more than fair market rent for your A.D.U. rental. So this is a program that, yes, it's a win-win and it's wonderful because we are creating units, we're offering an opportunity for homeowners to start getting in a little bit of extra income without having to put so much into it, but it's not an opportunity to say that you're going to charge $3,100 for a 600 square foot A.D.U. So those are some other specifics. There may be additional requests for documentation. Like in a situation like this, the state may say to us, yeah, Faith, we're going to consider it, but I want proof that he's been living there, and I want some kind of proof that, so there could be always requests for other documentation, so we put that on there as well.
Is there a table that tells you what you can charge for X size apartment?
No, but I can share that with you. So it's a fair market rent, so I can share, it's not based on square footage of an apartment. It's really based on studio, 1 bedroom, 2 bedroom, fair market rents, and I'll be happy to share that with everybody. And so applications come in, as I said, we are scoring them as they come in, so there are scores, and then the selection committee then goes through, bases on scoring, to then select the number, or select who is gonna be chosen. There are a total of 24 units that are eligible to be built in Orange County. My thought process is I would love to see them evenly split between Cornwall, Way Beyond, and Montgomery. However, if I only get applications from Cornwall, we're not gonna say you can only have this number. Or if I only have, vice versa. So we do want to keep them split as evenly as possible, but again, there are always considerations. I like this little colorful cheat sheet because this also helps, it tells you yes or no whether or not you should even consider to apply. Sorry, let me just look at my notes. I think I covered everything that I wanted to make sure I said, but I want to give everybody an opportunity to ask any questions. Yes?
If you don't receive 24 applications, would it then be open up to other municipalities? Or do we have to wait for another round? Because I'm not in the 3 towns.
Neither are we.
Okay. So what town are you in?
Mount Hope,
Okay.
Mount Hope,
I'm not familiar if they're.
or Otisville.
Do they have any zoning that allows it at this point?
I spoke to the building inspector once, and she said if it's a true A.D.U, it would be allowed. So, I'd go speak to her and ask if they could write to you. But I'm just wondering if I'd have to wait, say, till next year if I'm not eligible this year.
If they're interested and they allow it and they want to participate and they're willing to, your supervisor, your mayor, the powers that be, want to send a letter that say that they allow accessory dwelling units and they would like their participants to, their residents to participate, we could potentially consider that.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Yes?
What's gonna be the effect of the local property taxes?
Very good question. So, right now, there are, 421 F. Nicole's like, yeah, I don't know, don't look at me. So basically, there's an opportunity, so with that, each municipality has an opportunity to adopt this, that basically says that the first $200,000 that your property would be increased assessed value because of building this A.D.U would be exempt for a period of time. So every municipality still has to adopt it. Each one is now starting to get there. We're seeing it, and I don't like to reference other counties, but since Ulster County was doing the pilot program, we're seeing that all of the different municipalities now are adopting into it. So basically they're saying if your property assessed value increases by up to $200,000, that would be exempt from taxes. Yes.
I have a question on the construction side of things.
Sure.
Do you leave it up to the towns or do you have requirements for licensed contractors and?
My requirements are that anybody I pay money to, and so, actually, let me talk about that a little bit. We would manage the money, right? So you get awarded, we don't hand you $112,500 and say, here you go build your A.D.U. We manage the money, you'll have to submit estimates and all that other stuff. So any contractor that we pay has to have workers' comp and general liability.
Okay.
So we do require that, 100%.
That was the same in Way Beyond, but like this one, so as I said, I just finished a major renovation and a contractor took off with $70,000. So I will be acting as my own GC for this project and
Yes.
just subbing it out.
Totally. And we also, so we have a process, and, you know, Steve works very closely on my, first-time homebuyer acquisition rehab programs, as well as the Newburgh program that we were talking about, the THIA program. So I don't just pay contractors because I'm like, they send me an estimate and I'm like, oh, sure, I'm gonna pay you. The homeowner, you, are gonna sign off first of all and say, yep, you have my authorization to pay this contractor. You are gonna be working very closely with my home improvement manager, you're gonna be working very closely with Sandy, and you're gonna be saying, yep, here is my entire turnkey project. And you're gonna act as your own GC, and you're gonna use ABC to do your plumbing, you're gonna use DEF to do your electrical, you know, like, and you're gonna have all of your different subs to do all of these things, so we're gonna be all on the same page, and you're gonna sign a release. I can't pay anybody until you sign off authorizing me to pay them anyway.
Now, I hire an electrician, but I do my own plumbing. I mean, what about things like that? Would it just be receipts?
As I mentioned, that, the grant max, that direct assistance that would go in, if you can do your own plumbing and that's something that you're gonna do, and that's gonna come up, I just can't pay you,
Yeah.
nor can I reimburse you for the parts for doing that.
Really? Okay.
But I can put the money, this $112,500, into all of those other things,
Okay.
and you can do those pieces as long as the municipality is still going to allow you to, you're still keeping up with their requirements of your building permit.
Okay, so it wouldn't be, because like the last time I did something like this through HUD was with NHS, Neighborhood Housing Services, and it was a low interest loan, well, not very low interest, but it was a loan. And I did a lot of my own work, and they reimbursed, I gave them a ton of receipts, and they reimbursed for materials.
Some programs do that, so I know NHS has some like that. We actually have one that we're gonna be starting later on this month to help people who may have been affected by Hurricane Ida that came through 3 years ago. That program could be a reimbursement program, so there are some that can be reimbursements. This program cannot.
Okay.
But let's just say your total costs are $162,000 to build this A.D.U unit. We know there's a $50,000 gap right there, and you can do your own plumbing and save $5,000. That's totally fine with me, because our $112,000 is going to go to be paying the other contractors, and then that $5,000 is going to be coming out of your $50,000 gap. And as long as the municipality is fine with that, as far as your permitting goes.
I mean, way beyond that, you can literally hand in a crayon drawing on the back of a bar nap, and they will take it. So,
right.
Don't show that to them.
I know. I was like, Denise, are you watching this? So that's how we can work it out. I just can't cut you a check.
Okay.
But this question does come up a lot with all of our programs about the workers' comp and the general liability insurance, because a lot of times sole proprietors, contractors, New York State law says that they are not required to have workers' comp, that they can get a CE 200, that they're exempt from it if they don't have any other employees and they're their only other employee. Now, I'm not an attorney, and I don't know, because I think there's also even something in there that if it's like you and your wife and your kids, I think you can still get your exemption. However, our workers' comp policy, RUPCO, we are not allowed to pay anybody that does not have a full workers' compensation policy. So we cannot accept the CE 200. Because then when the end of the year, when we get audited, we get charged, and we end up paying the workers' comp on your job. And we got slammed one year for $20,000. I don't even want to know what the cost would be on a $125,000 grant. So we are just very strict on that. So workers' comp, general liability is what we are. Not necessarily in these municipalities that are participating in it here, but some municipalities also have very strict things when it comes to plumbing and electric. They need to be licensed with that municipality. So if your municipality has any specifications as far as that goes, we need to follow that.
Do you require the licenses from the subs and GC part of the package, or just the workers' compensation liability?
From the GC, yeah, exactly. And that is how a lot of other smaller contractors still get to work. Because, here's the thing, I want to keep small contractors working, communities thrive when housing is affordable, and our economy in our counties and in our municipalities only thrive when people are working. But that is the way that a lot of that happens, is the GC will hire the GC, they have the workers' comp, and then they pay out the subs for other things.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Ooh, me.
Yes.
So, earlier, gentleman, I don't remember where he went, but he was saying, in New Windsor, like, they're only allowed to build, stuff that's like attached to their home. So, I happen to be one of the places on there, Town of Montgomery. Do I have to be attached to my home?
I cannot speak specifically to the Town of Montgomery's rules, as far as ADUs goes. What I would recommend is that you reach out to the Town of Montgomery and you ask them, does it have to be attached? So for this program, it can be any of the above. It could be as unique as your fingerprint, how you're gonna be building this. It could be attached, it could be detached, it could be above a garage, it could be a basement, it can be attic. But check with your municipality to ask if their requirements say it has to be attached. Some municipalities do have that.
Now,
Any-
another question, say
yeah.
that you get a price to do it, say it's $150,000, you only give 125, you have to show proof that you have 25,000 before you get that?
Yeah. And remember, the direct money that comes into your project is really $112,500. Okay,
That difference
so
you
that,
would
yep,
have to
you
have
would
for
show
the
that
account.
difference. Yep. And so we would say, you've been selected, so scoring criteria, you've been selected, so then the next step is going to be, hey, you gotta show us where that gap is gonna come from. Now, that does not mean you have to have that money sitting in your account right now. But you could, have an IRA that you're gonna take it out of. You could, be going to a bank for a HELOC. You could be getting a personal loan. But when we ask for those proof of funds, you would then have to show us an approval. So, and then you would say, yep, I'm approved for this loan, or I'm approved for this line of credit. Somebody right now is doing exactly that. They got a home equity line of credit, and that's what she's doing.
So you can get the home line of credit and then have this?
Mhm. Yep,
No.
and they're using that line of credit for the gap.
Okay. Another question, after they say the deadline delayed in November, what's your turnaround? on
Pretty
that?
quickly, we will my plan is to have all funding agreements signed by the end of the year.
Okay.
So the deadline is the 18th. I'm pretty sure by as soon as Thanksgiving holiday is over, everybody will be notified if you've been selected, get any other supplemental income, and get you in to sign a funding agreement.
Now, the first one, the priority was in October. You have to have an actual building permit, you have to have just plans, that's submitting plans?
Be ready to go. So you don't have to already
like a
have.
submitting package, I can
Mhm.
submit, I
Correct.
can send you what I'm
Be close
submitting
to
to the
go.
town.
Mhm. And those you'll know within 2 weeks if you're selected for that.
Okay.
Yeah. For the priority period.
And then you said you have 60 days to start the project after you've been awarded, is that correct?
Yes, you have 60 days to be ready to go towards permitting, to get you to that window from the time you sign your funding agreement.
Right, okay.
Yep. Any other questions? Yes?
I have a question about that. When you guys put the lien on a property for this funding, is it the full amount that you've been given to do the renovations? It's the same amount?
The lien on the property is for the entire $125,000.
And then if you then want to get a HELOC later on down the line or refinance and you have this lien on your property for that amount, and you want to maybe borrow more than that 112 that the lien is in, would RUPCO be willing to go into third position and allow you to refinance so you can access the equity in your house down
Yes,
the line?
so this lien, just so that everybody knows too, the lien goes in New York State's name. So it's not, we're just administering this money for New York State, but yes, so we can't just sign off on the subordination, but we submit it to New York State and then they would sign off on it. So we would still act as, yeah, we act as that liaison for that though. There are some programs that we've done too, like where we're actually the lien holder, so then that request comes in and we can choose to subordinate or to satisfy or to, any of these other things.
Just to add what you said, what's the duration of that lien? 10 years?
10 years. 10 years. And we do have a question into New York State now that they have their legal department working on to get a real clear answer of what would happen. But some of these situations, older homeowners are looking to build ADUs so that they can move into the ADU and then let their family member live in the bigger house. And we've also been talking about what happens in that case if somebody passes away during the 10-year period of time. So I do not have a very specific answer on that yet, what will happen, but the New York State's legal team is getting that information out to everybody as to what would happen with that. Oh yeah.
Just, when's the next meeting scheduled? Is it for when?
It's in Wavianda, and I want to say September 19th,
Okay,
but,
thank you very much.
okay, thank you. I was like, but, I'm clearly, I don't know, my brain and my calendar were not syncing today, so I wanted to just double check that before I, held me to that. We are doing one in Wavianda on the 19th, and then I'm hoping to be doing one in the town of Montgomery also. We just don't have that set yet.
So we've had success with ours here in Cornwall. We're selling it and we're moving to New Windsor where this program is not in place right now. So we have to go there to the building inspector or to the housing board and make an application with them or tell them to write a letter.
Or have them get in touch with us, right? And then let's find out where they're at. And that's kind of, what we're really hoping through this program is that it's also sharing these great things like, oh, this municipality isn't open to having them yet, but now they're gonna be open. So yeah, I have them reach out to us and see, see what their temperature is and what we can do to get them on board.
Okay.
My contact information is on the front page of this application, but also Sandy's name, email, and phone number is also on here. Any questions you think of for ADUs after this, please call Sandy. She will get back to you right away. She is really good as far as that goes. Have anybody municipality-wise that wants to participate in this, or even if they're still looking at the possibilities of this, I'm happy to go talk to town boards or village boards. I think I can get some of my friends in other municipalities or the county to maybe help give me some assistance with that. But I'm happy to go do that. We really wanted to see more opportunities for this to happen. And then if you want any information about any other programs that we serve, just go to our REPCO website, repco.org, and it has all of the other programs. But if you specifically need assistance with foreclosure prevention and or rehab programs that we have coming out or have in Orange County, you can reach out to Kaya. She sits in our Walden office. And thank you, I am so sorry. There's water, crackers, cheese, chocolate, help yourselves. Thank you for being patient and waiting for us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm filling in for Josh. I'm Wayne Gold. I'm the deputy supervisor.
Oh, I am so sorry. I should have introduced you.
You know me. If you've got Cornwall-specific questions, I'll try and answer them. But if I can't, I'm going to refer you to either the building inspector's office, if they are questions about can you do what you want to do on your property. He's the gatekeeper. He has all the answers, and that's where you start. If you have questions about zoning and what the changes might be going forward, the town board is looking at adjusting the zoning to make building ADUs, I know Brian's interested in this, easier. Right now it's pretty restrictive, but it hasn't been changed since, I think Josh said 1987. So, building department, if you want to find out if you can do what you want to do on your property, supervisor's office if you have other associated questions. If you've got Cornwall-specific questions, I'll try and answer them. If not, thank you all for coming. Thank you for coming.
Thank you, yes.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Aaron, thank you.